Let's be honest, some mornings don't come wrapped in peace or promise. They begin with a hollow ache, a kind of weight that lives deep in the chest. It's the sound of silence after an argument you wish you could undo. It's the heaviness of waking up already tired, already dreading what the day will ask of you. It's the tightness in your throat when you scroll through photos and remember who you used to be, before the disappointment, before the burnout, before life started slipping out of the lines you once drew with such hope. Maybe this morning doesn't feel like a beginning. Maybe it feels like more of the same. Same pressure. Same regrets. Same silence from heaven. You try to pull yourself out of it, remind yourself of things you should be grateful for. You take a breath, pour the coffee, and go through the motions. But inside, there's a quiet whisper. A question you don't dare say out loud because it sounds too hopeless. Is it even worth trying again? You've fallen before. You've prayed before. You've believed before. And still, things fell apart. So what makes today any different? Here's the answer, and it doesn't come from your performance or positivity. It comes straight from the heart of the one who knows you best. Yes. It is worth it. Not because you're strong enough. Not because the odds are suddenly in your favor. But because mercy woke you up this morning, and mercy never shows up without purpose. God's mercy isn't random. It's not a consolation prize. It's a calling. A quiet, steady invitation that says, you are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not disqualified. This isn't just another box to check off the calendar. This is heaven's reminder that time doesn't run out when you're walking with the one who created it. His mercies are new, not recycled, not borrowed, not leftover from yesterday's grace, but new, handcrafted for the exact places in your life that feel the most worn out. And maybe that's what you need to hear today. Not that you have to climb your way back to God, but that He has already come close. Not that you need to do more, prove more, be more, but that His presence is near to the brokenhearted, and He's not asking you to perform. He's asking you to receive. So take this moment, not as a sign of guilt, but as a breath of grace. Let yourself feel the weight you've been carrying. Name it. Own it. And then, hand it over. Mercy doesn't require you to pretend. It meets you in the middle of the mess and gently says, you can start again. And you can. Not because you're sure, but because He is. Not because the path is easy, but because He walks it with you. This is your reset. Not the kind that erases the past, but the kind that reclaims your future. The kind that doesn't demand perfection, but welcomes your presence. The kind that doesn't shout, but whispers steadily, come back. Begin again. So let the coffee grow cold if it needs to. Let the to-do list wait 5 more minutes. Be still. Listen. That stirring inside your heart isn't foolishness. It's faith. The quiet kind that still believes, even after the fall, and today. That's enough. We often think of mercy as something we fall back on, a backup plan, a safety net for when we've blown it. But mercy was never God's plan B. It has always been His way forward. Mercy is not the exception to how God treats us, it's the essence of who He is. God doesn't hand you a second chance with arms crossed and a disappointed sigh. He doesn't reluctantly slide a redo across the table, warning you that this is your last shot. That's not who He is. He's not the cold supervisor tallying your failures on a clipboard. He's the Father who's been standing on the porch, light on, eyes scanning the road, waiting, not to scold you, but to embrace you. Not to shame you, but to restore you. When you think of second chances, don't picture courtroom tension. Picture homecoming. Imagine the front door flung open before you can even knock. Imagine running into arms that never stopped being open. That's mercy. Not a technicality, not a loophole, but a rescue. Not a soft excuse for sin, but a bold declaration of love stronger than your worst day. You weren't just tolerated when you came back. You were pursued. Before you even turned around, He was already walking toward you. Before you said the words, he already knew your heart was breaking. That's the mystery of grace. It runs ahead of your apology and meets you where you are. You are not merely allowed to begin again. You are invited. There's a huge difference. Being allowed implies hesitation or reluctance. Invitation speaks of delight, of intentionality, of someone who made room for you at the table long before you realized you needed it. Think about sunlight after the rain. It doesn't check to see if the windows are clean or if the room is ready. It doesn't ask if the furniture is in place or the floor swept. It simply breaks through and fills every corner with warmth and light. It finds the dust. It illuminates the cracks. But it doesn't shame them, it softens them. It brings clarity, not condemnation. That's what grace does. It doesn't wait until you're fixed to show up. It enters into the mess and calls you beloved. It doesn't hide the broken parts. It gently reveals them in light so healing can begin. The same sunlight that exposes also warms. The same mercy that uncovers also covers. So let go of the picture you've been carrying, the one where God is distant, disappointed, barely willing to deal with you. That's not him. His mercy isn't thin. It's not tired. It's not cautious or calculated. It's generous. It's relentless. It's personal. Mercy is not the backup generator that kicks in when everything else fails. It's the original design. It's how God planned to reach you, not as a fallback, but as the very center of his relationship with you. And when you receive it, really receive it, something changes. Not just in how you see God, but in how you see yourself. You stop living like someone barely hanging on and start walking like someone fully held. You stop apologizing for taking up space in the kingdom and start stepping into the calling that's always been waiting for you. This is not about starting over in shame, it's about beginning again in grace. Mercy isn't earned, and it's not weak. It's powerful enough to rewrite stories, restore identities, and rebuild lives. So if this morning you feel unsure, undeserving, or unseen, let mercy speak louder. Let grace be the voice that says, "You're still welcome here." Let the light in, even if the room isn't perfect. That's where transformation begins. And God never needed to be perfect to begin something beautiful. We often think of mercy as something we fall back on, a backup plan, a safety net for when we've blown it. But mercy was never God's plan B. It has always been his way forward. Mercy is not the exception to how God treats us, it's the essence of who he is. God doesn't hand you a second chance with arms crossed and a disappointed sigh. He doesn't reluctantly slide a redo across the table, warning you that this is your last shot. That's not who he is. He's not the cold supervisor tallying your failures on a clipboard. He's the father who's been standing on the porch, light on, eyes scanning the road, waiting, not to scold you, but to embrace you, not to shame you, but to restore you. When you think of second chances, don't picture courtroom tension. Picture homecoming. Imagine the front door flung open before you can even knock. Imagine running into arms that never stopped being open. That's mercy. Not a technicality, not a loophole, but a rescue. Not a soft excuse for sin, but a bold declaration of love stronger than your worst day. You weren't just tolerated when you came back. You were pursued. Before you even turned around, he was already walking toward you. Before you said the words, he already knew your heart was breaking. That's the mystery of grace. It runs ahead of your apology and meets you where you are. You are not merely allowed to begin again. You are invited. There's a huge difference. Being allowed implies hesitation or reluctance. Invitation speaks of delight, of intentionality, of someone who made room for you at the table long before you realized you needed it. Think about sunlight after the rain. It doesn't check to see if the windows are clean or if the room is ready. It doesn't ask if the furniture is in place or the floor swept. It simply breaks through and fills every corner with warmth and light. It finds the dust. It illuminates the cracks. But it doesn't shame them, it softens them. It brings clarity, not condemnation. That's what grace does. It doesn't wait until you're fixed to show up. It enters into the mess and calls you beloved. It doesn't hide the broken parts. It gently reveals them in light so healing can begin. The same sunlight that exposes also warms. The same mercy that uncovers also covers. So let go of the picture you've been carrying, the one where God is distant, disappointed, barely willing to deal with you. That's not Him. His mercy isn't thin. It's not tired. It's not cautious or calculated. It's generous. It's relentless. It's personal. Mercy is not the backup generator that kicks in when everything else fails. It's the original design. It's how God planned to reach you, not as a fallback, but as the very center of His relationship with you. And when you receive it, really receive it, something changes. Not just in how you see God, but in how you see yourself. You stop living like someone barely hanging on and start walking like someone fully held. You stop apologizing for taking up space in the kingdom and start stepping into the calling that's always been waiting for you. This is not about starting over in shame. It's about beginning again in grace. Mercy isn't earned, and it's not weak. It's powerful enough to rewrite stories, restore identities, and rebuild lives. So if this morning you feel unsure, undeserving, or unseen, let mercy speak louder. Let grace be the voice that says, "You're still welcome here." Let the light in, even if the room isn't perfect. That's where transformation begins. And God never needed to be perfect to begin something beautiful. There's something sacred that happens when we return to Scripture, not as spectators, but as sons and daughters who need to hear the Father's voice again. And if you've ever felt torn by life, wounded by your own choices, or simply worn down by trying to hold yourself together, God has something to say to you today that goes far beyond surface comfort. He speaks healing into the rawest places. The words in Hosea 6 are not a polite invitation. They are a cry, a soul-level calling back to the only one who can revive what's gone cold. Come, let us return to the Lord. He has torn us, but He will heal us. He has wounded us, but He will bind us up. After 2 days, He will revive us. On the third day, He will restore us, that we may live in His presence. This is more than poetic imagery. This is covenant language. It's not about shame or punishment, it's about renewal. The kind of renewal that doesn't ignore the pain but redeems it. God is not intimidated by the broken places. He steps right into them. He names them. And then, with holy tenderness, He begins the work of restoration. It's easy to skim over these verses, especially when your heart is tired or your hope feels fragile. But what if this was your moment to slow down and really hear it? What if the tearing and wounding mentioned in this passage isn't the end of a story, but the beginning of something deeper? God doesn't leave us wounded. He binds. He heals. He revives. Revival doesn't always look like fireworks or fanfare. Sometimes it's a heartbeat returning to rhythm after chaos. Sometimes it's tears that finally fall after months of numbness. Sometimes it's simply waking up and realizing, I don't want to run anymore. And it's not just Hosea who speaks this. The Apostle Paul echoes the same hope in his letter to the Corinthians. If anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. The old is gone. The news has come. That's not self-help. That's spiritual reality. That's the promise of transformation, not based on effort, but on identity. You are not being rebranded, you are being reborn. So many of us try to fix our lives from the outside in. We change our schedules, adjust our habits, clean up our timelines, or silence the noise. But God doesn't start with behavior. He starts with being, with the core of who you are. Because when you truly understand you've been made new, everything else begins to shift. He revives what feels ruined. He restores what's been left in silence. He breathes life back into the parts of you that no one sees but Him. And He doesn't rush the process. He is both patient and powerful. gentle and just, steady and sovereign. When Scripture says he will bind us up, it means he doesn't let us bleed out quietly in isolation. He steps in with compassion. He kneels beside us in the rubble and says, "This is not where your story ends. You don't have to be fixed to be found. You don't have to be strong to be restored. You don't even have to feel worthy to be welcomed. You just have to return. That's all. Return and be met by the one who already made a way home." Let these verses be more than a devotional reading. Let them be your declaration that no matter how far you've wandered, no matter how numb or hollow or ashamed you feel, there is a God who revives. Not in theory, but in real time. Right now. In this very breath. And if he says you're a new creation, then no amount of failure can undo what grace has rewritten. This is not a repair job. This is a resurrection. And it's already begun. God. This morning, I don't come with achievements to offer or answers to impress you. I come with empty hands and a heart that's bruised in places I've stopped mentioning. I come carrying the quiet disappointments I've dressed up as strength. I bring the moments I thought I'd be further along, the relationships I've tried to fix, the dreams that feel more distant than they used to. I show up today not polished or triumphant, but real, and that's the most honest offering I can give. I've tried to rewrite my story with effort. I've tried to silence regret with busyness. But nothing has quieted the ache that keeps reminding me there are parts of my life that still feel undone. God, I bring you those places today. The conversations I wish I could replay. The promises I broke to myself. The habits I said I'd change by now. The secret comparisons. The inner accusations that whisper I'll never be enough. You already see it all, and yet, you're still calling me closer. Not to condemn me, but to cover me. Not to shame me, but to shape me. So I bring every page I've tried to rip out of my story. I bring every name I've called myself that you never spoke over me: failure, burden, unworthy, forgotten. I lay them at your feet. Every false identity, every self-imposed label, every narrative that has made me hide. I surrender it. I don't want to live on the run anymore, not from you, not from myself, not from the life you've still called me to live. I want to be present in this moment, even if it's messy. Even if I don't have a resolution. I want to choose honesty over hiding, and surrender over striving. I want this to be the turning point, not just in theory but in reality. Let this morning be more than routine. Let it be sacred. So I ask, begin again in me. Not with a new version of who I think I need to become, but with the raw, real parts of who I am. I don't want a performance. I want a resurrection. I don't want to impress you, I want to walk with you. I want to live from a heart that knows it's loved, not for what it achieves, but because it belongs to you. Help me believe, down to my bones, that you are not tired of me. That you don't see me as a lost cause. That is, when you look at me, you see someone worth redeeming. That you have plans for what still looks wasted. That your grace runs deeper than my failure. That your mercy is wide enough to meet me in this very breath. Let this be the day I stop pretending and start rebuilding. Let this be the hour I stop rehearsing regret and start receiving restoration. If there's even a flicker of faith left in me, fan it into flame. Let me take one real step toward you, no more hiding, no more delay. And as I do, help me release control. Help me release the timelines I've forced. The images I've curated. The shame I've carried. Let me hand you the pen again and trust that you write better endings than I ever could. God, redeem even this. Redeem what I've ignored. Redeem what I've ruined. Redeem what I thought was too late. I don't ask because I've earned it. I ask because you've promised it. Right now, I'm naming one area in my life where I need a second chance. One part of my story, I want you to step into again. I'm saying it out loud, even if my voice shakes. God, I give this back to you. Please begin again in me. And I believe you will. Before the world wakes up fully and your to-do list begins to demand your attention, there's a moment waiting to be claimed. A sacred space before the scroll, before the stress, before the noise. It's the moment right after your eyes open, when your soul is still quiet and your body hasn't yet remembered all it's carrying. That moment is where redemption begins. Not with a sermon, not with a schedule, but with a simple, silent surrender. What if you started each morning not with urgency, but with reverence? Not with pressure to perform, but with permission to pause? What if instead of immediately reaching for your phone or jumping into what needs to get done, you reached for the one who holds time in his hands? Create a rhythm. Call it Redeem the Morning. Let it be your act of resistance against a world that wants you anxious and hurried from the moment you rise. Let it be a reclaiming of your peace before you give your attention to anything or anyone else. Because how your day begins can deeply shape how your spirit walks through it. Take just 3 minutes. You don't need a quiet room or the perfect playlist. You don't need fancy prayers or perfect posture. All you need is a willing heart and a moment of stillness. Close your eyes. Breathe deep. Let the weight you've been carrying settle for a moment, not to crush you, but to remind you that you were never meant to carry it alone. Whisper these words, God, I give you this morning, before I give it to the world. There's power in that sentence. It's not just a spiritual habit, it's alignment. It's authority. It's you choosing to root yourself in something unshakable before the shakeable things start pulling at you. It's giving God your first thoughts, not your leftovers. Then take a journal or even just a piece of paper and write down one thing you're grateful for. Not a generic list, something real, something recent. Maybe it's a friend who checked in when you were struggling. Maybe it's the strength to keep going when no one else knew you were close to giving up. Gratitude isn't about ignoring pain. It's about inviting light into it. Now, write down one thing you're surrendering. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be honest. Maybe it's your anxiety about a conversation coming up today. Maybe it's your frustration with your health. Maybe it's the pressure to keep up, to be more, to do more. Whatever it is, name it. Then lay it down. It's not too small for God to carry, and it's not too messy for Him to redeem. Do this not as a checkbox, but as communion. A quiet offering. A reminder that before you show up for anyone else, you are already known and loved by the one who made you. You may not feel immediate peace. You may not get an answer. But what you will receive is alignment, a realignment of your identity and your direction. And that, friend, can change everything. Small rhythms create big revival. 3 minutes at the start of your day may not seem like much. But over time, it can begin to rebuild the way you think, speak, respond, and believe. It's a seed that grows slowly but steadily. It's faith in practice. Let this be the morning you start again, not just in your schedule, but in your spirit. Let it be a declaration that your day belongs to God before it belongs to your calendar. And let it be a habit that helps you remember, you don't have to earn peace. You just have to return to it. Because grace doesn't wait for your performance. It shows up at sunrise, asking only for your presence. And this morning, you get to say yes. You may not realize it as you sit in the quiet moments of this morning, but something holy is already unfolding. Not because everything is fixed. Not because every answer has arrived. But because God is here. And when He is present, transformation is not just possible, it's already happening. Today isn't about catching up. It's not about proving your worth or outrunning your past. It's about pausing long enough to remember that your identity isn't grounded in your history, but in His promises. You are not a collection of regrets or missed chances. You are a living testimony that mercy still meets us in the middle of the mess. You are not behind. You are becoming. Becoming someone who no longer listens to the lies that say you're too broken or too late. Becoming someone who walks in quiet strength because you know where your help comes from. Becoming someone who dares to believe that redemption isn't a fantasy reserved for others, it's the very heartbeat of your story. Let today be the day you choose permission over pressure. Permission to breathe. Permission to start again without shame. Permission to rise, not because you've figured it all out, but because grace has already gone ahead of you. You don't have to wait for everything to make sense. You don't have to have a 5-year plan to be faithful today. All you need is the courage to stand in the truth that God is not finished with you. He never was. And He never will be. Let the lies of your past lose their grip. The ones that tell you you're unworthy. The ones that remind you of what you lost, what you broke, what you should have done differently. Those voices have been loud for too long. But there is a louder truth, a voice that calls you chosen, redeemed, and loved. Let that truth echo louder in your spirit today. Let it drown out the noise of your inner critic and the weight of the world's expectations. You are not a failure. You are not your past. You are not disqualified. You are forgiven. Not partially. Completely. You are restored. Not patched up. Rebuilt. You are free. Not to run from your past, but to walk fully into your future. And your second chance. It's not just a survival plan, it's the spark of your revival. It's the sacred turning point that reminds you, even ashes can be beauty when placed in the hands of the one who creates all things new. So may this day carry the soft strength of someone who knows they're held. May it be marked not by striving, but by surrender. May it be filled not with fear, but with the quiet confidence of knowing that you're already enough because He is already with you. You don't have to do it all today. But you can take one faithful step. One breath of courage. One whispered prayer that says, "Here I am, Lord." Still believing. Still hoping. Still becoming. This is not the end of your story. It's the next chapter. So step into it, not with pressure, but with peace. Not with fear, but with freedom. Not with shame, but with the certainty that God finishes what He starts. You're not too far gone. You're not forgotten. You're not finished. You are becoming. And today, you begin again.